As the Blue Dragoon, Meru is a moist powerhouse. In fact, she was originally going to play Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that opportunity evaporated and she had to do this dumb video game instead.
I don't know why they booked me on these chicken games.
She wields the power of water and ice, and she's considered by many, including me, to be the best character in The Legend of Dragoon. But why? Is she really that good? Why does she make everyone so wet? So today, I'm going to examine Meru's battle potential to answer the question, how great is Meru actually? Meru's human form is confusing to many players. Offensively, it's probably easiest to start by talking about her magical ability. It's easy to see based on her raw stats alone that she is an excellent magic user. With the second best magic stat in the game, she gives Shanna a run for her money as far as magical strength is concerned, and she's a great choice to throw magical items. Physically though, I think many players find her confusing. Initially, she is the weakest addition user in the game. Her additions have low multipliers, her strength stat is only the second weakest in the game after Shanna's, but who cares about Shanna's strength, and her weapons have low attack additives. But as she grows in level and gains new additions, things vastly improve, with her second to last addition having a multiplier of 350%. However, it's not until she gains her final addition, Perky Step, that she truly hits her stride. It has a multiplier of 600%, the highest in the game. And alone, a 600% multiplier with low absolute attack stat probably doesn't seem that notable. However, Meru also has a ton of speed. When comparing her to other characters, the number of turns she can take is just as important as the absolute amount of damage she can do with one attack. Perhaps it's easiest to understand when you compare her to Kongol and Lavitz. She gets about twice as many turns as each of them do, so if she's able to do only half as much damage as they can with each attack, she can still do about double their damage in total. And if she becomes low on health, which I'll talk about in a moment, she can sacrifice one of her turns to heal and not lose as much damage as a slower character would by healing, because that slower character has to sacrifice their whole attack damage to do that healing. And of course, all of this completely ignores the damage she can do in her Dragoon form, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But all of this is to say that once she gets that final addition, her physical damage keeps up with or even exceeds that of the boys. And with speed equipment, no one can hit harder. But defensively, Meru is on thin ice. She has the worst HP in the game and the worst defense alongside it. And while her magic defense is excellent, second only to that of Shanna, her poor HP definitely hurts her ability to take a magical spanking. Particularly at lower levels, whether taking physical or magical hits, she'll often be the first to die. Her speed does help her get extra turns to heal though, meaning that if she isn't killed with just one hit, she can often spare a turn to heal. So her speed improves not only her physical prowess, but also her survivability. So in human form, Meru is an offensive powerhouse, using physical attacks and strong magic to bash her enemies' heads in with blazing speed, with lightning speed, with the speed of a Jamaican bobsledder. But her defense is as delicate as a doily, and like a goldfish, she needs careful care to ensure she does not meet an untimely demise. Meru's Dragoon form is a great reservoir of power and utility. She retains a great deal of the strength of her human form, but she gains a ton of cool tricks she can use to ice out the competition. Offensively, Meru's physical attacks are somewhat lackluster. She trades Perky Step's 600% attack multiplier for a 200% base strength multiplier, which is nothing to shake an ice cube at, and the standard Dragoon addition multiplier. And as I was writing this script, I realized that I haven't done a direct comparison of Dragoon additions to standard additions, so look out for that video at a later date. However, if you play Meru's Dragoon form, it's likely that you'll end up using her additions, and fortunately, they're not terrible. They're just not as good as everyone else's. But fortunately, Meru has far better things to do in Dragoon form than use physical attacks. Her arsenal of water and ice magic contains some of the best spells in the game, spells that are versatile and worth using in myriad situations against many enemies. Her first spell is Freezing Ring, a 50% power ice spell that attacks a single target and costs 10 MP. And coming off of Meru's magic attack, this does a ton of damage. And because of its low MP cost, it can be used multiple times for a lot of damage output. And that low MP cost is important because her second spell, Rainbow Breath, is one that can absolutely save your butt. Rainbow Breath heals half of the party's HP and removes any status effects. And Meru's third spell is Diamond Dust, which is a 50% power water spell that attacks all enemies. And this spell, like her first two, is fantastic and probably the most efficient spell in the game in terms of damage to MP. And Meru's final spell is the Blue Dragon, a 100% power spell that attacks one enemy. And of course, transforming into a Dragoon shores up her defenses with tremendous boosts, meaning that with her healing, she will not die. And this section is a little bit different than what is in my other guides in this series, but I felt Meru's placement in my tier list as the best character in the game deserves some scrutiny. In any video game, there are specialists and all-rounders. For example, in Final Fantasy, black mages and white mages are specialists. They can perform black magic and white magic respectively, and they can do it very well. Red mages, by contrast, are all-rounders. They can cast both types of spells, but they are usually only about half as adept as either of the specialists. They also get some physical skill, but again, not as much as a physical specialist like a fighter or monk would have. And in The Legend of Dragoon, Meru is seen by many players as a magic specialist. She has excellent magic spells and an excellent magic attack stat that backs up the power of those spells. Supporting the hypothesis that she's a magical specialist is the fact that her physical attacks at the beginning of the game do a very small amount of damage when compared to those of the other characters. But as she grows, Meru reveals herself as an all-rounder. Her physical attack strength burgeons, and with her speed stat, she's ultimately able to keep up physically with every other physical attacker in the game in terms of overall damage dealt. But wait, that kind of goes against the idea of an all-rounder. That definition being that they should do less damage with their respective traits than specialists can. So then if Meru can do as much physical damage as the physical specialists, is she actually a physical specialist? Well, to answer that question, we have to compare her to Shanna, because Shanna is the only other character in the game who has a comparable magic stat, and she is the ultimate magic specialist. She can't do any significant physical damage. So comparing their offensive spells, Shanna has two offensive spells. Star Children, a 25% power spell that attacks all enemies for 20 MP, and her Dragon, which is a 75% power spell that attacks all enemies for 80 MP. Meru, however, has Freezing Ring and Diamond Dust, both of which will always do more damage than Star Children because of their higher power level, and Meru's Dragon has more power than Shanna's, meaning that in single target situations, it almost always does more damage as well. So I would say that offensively, Meru's Dragoon magic is better than Shanna's. So basically, Meru is an offensive all-rounder who can do the job of every single offensive specialist better than they can. But wait! What about healing? Well, the only other character with strong healing is Shanna. Her first is Moonlight, which heals one party member to full HP, revives them, and cures status, and her second is Gates of Heaven, and that spell heals all party members by 50% HP and revives them. So Gates of Heaven is arguably the more useful of Shanna's spells, given that it helps out everyone, but it costs 10 more MP than Meru's Rainbow Breath, and if everyone is alive, that makes the spell's effect the same as Rainbow Breath, but with no status cure, which is another point for Meru. And Meru's spell does it for 10 fewer MP. And in battles where Dragoons are weakened, Shanna becomes a lot more difficult to get value out of because her human form has terrible physical attacks, which means that when you run out of magic attack items, Shanna can't do much, while Meru can still help out with physical attacks pretty adeptly. In fact, the only person that offers something Meru truly can't is Lavitz. His Rose Storm, which is the literal best spell in the game, and you can see my Legend of Dragoon magic tier list if you want an explanation as to why, reduces all damage that the party takes by half. Coincidentally, they have great synergy because of this spell. Lavitz can prevent her from getting killed in one hit, basically making her invincible. But in any case, that's why Meru is the most broken character in The Legend of Dragoon. She can hit hard in the same way her allies can on both the physical and magic sides, and heal about as well as Shanna, making her a great choice for almost every battle. Meru's versatility leads to 4 interesting ways to play her, all of which can be used to adapt to literally any battle. The first is a hyper carry. In this playstyle, you load up your party with MP restoration items and have only Meru transform into a Dragoon. She can then immediately use her blue dragon spell, dealing massive damage, and she can cast Rainbow Breath when the party is low on HP. After each cast of her dragon, one of your human characters restores her MP, allowing her to cast Blue Dragon until the enemy is dead. The main advantage of this playstyle is that it allows for Meru to do the highest possible damage over 5 turns. The disadvantage is that you're going to have to purchase more MP healing items, although money isn't too scarce in this game. And Shanna can also use this playstyle. The difference is that when Shanna reverts back to human form, she has trouble dealing any kind of good physical damage, and Meru, when she reverts, can use physical attacks that do a ton of damage to regain her spirit points, letting her transform again. The second playstyle is Burst Offense, and this playstyle is ideal in battle where being a Dragoon will lead to certain death, namely those battles in which Dragoon forms are weakened, but it can be used against any enemy. Essentially, you never want your Dragoon level to be more than 1. This ensures that after you transform and attack, you'll revert back to human form immediately and won't get bodied in your weakened Dragoon state. Just transform every single time your Dragoon level hits 1 and cast your most powerful spell and then restore MP at your leisure. Again, both Shanna and Meru can use this playstyle, but transforming into a Dragoon with just 1 Dragoon level brings your Dragoon points, your spirit points, back to 0. This means that literally half of the time, Shanna won't be able to do any damage at all. She'll have to hit the enemy with a weak attack to get back her spirit points. The third playstyle is Special. If you want everyone to Dragoon and you don't feel like restoring Meru's MP, have her special to gain a huge boost to her magic damage. If she's at level 5, the maximum amount of damage that you'll do to a single target is with 5 freezing ring spells, so feel free to blast away. In a multi-target situation though, go for Diamond Dust. And it's in this playstyle that Meru really breaks away from Shanna. Because Shanna's level 2 spell is extremely weak, her only real choice is to cast her White Silver Dragoon and her level 2 spell unless you restore her MP. And because Dragoons can't use items and all of your characters will be Dragoons, she's only going to be able to do that once. That will give her a total damage output of 100% Dragoon spell power. Meru, on the other hand, with 5 freezing rings, gets 250% Dragoon spell power. And if she needs to use Diamond Dust to hit a bunch of enemies or to hit multiple targets in a boss fight, she can do up to 150% damage to the entire enemy party, plus another 50% with Freezing Ring after her 90 HP use from Diamond Dust are gone. And the fourth playstyle is Pure Physical. As I mentioned, once Meru has Perky Step, her final edition, she does a ton of damage with her physical attacks, and there often isn't any need to transform into a Dragoon in the first place. So just go to town, and if you have Lavitz in your party to shore up her defenses, that's just an added bonus because they are ideal teammates. So overall, how great is Meru? She can do everything that every other character can do about as well as they can, if not better. Her only weakness is her defense, which is mostly mitigated by her Dragoon form, her excellent speed, and her access to powerful and low-cost healing. And physically, she is actually almost as powerful as Kongol, and speaking of Kongol, if this guide helped you, I know exactly which video you need to watch next. My analysis of Kongol, which is right here. Thanks for watching, like the video, join the Discord, become a channel member, bye bye!